Hey everyone, this is Marcin Lewandowski and you're watching TurnedVC Show Season 2. Today we are in stunning Lisbon and we're visiting one of the coolest startup events in the world, the Web Summit. We have some amazing people on the show for you today. Let's check them out and enjoy the show. So hey everyone, we are right in front of Web Summit with the one and only Sarah Franklin, the CEO of Lattice. Sarah, I was just asking Sarah actually for how long is she staying in Lisbon and what's the plan afterwards?
Yeah, so here till Thursday, then heading to France and then UK to visit some customers and employees in our office in London. Yeah.
Is it your first? It's not your first time in Europe, right? It's first time in Lisbon.
Oh, not Europe, no.
Not Europe.
But in Lisbon, yes, it's my first time here. Very impressed with the city and Portugal and the event itself. It's huge. It's crazy how big it is, and it's, I think, one of the biggest in the world.
Yeah. It's like 20,000 people, right?
I heard 70,000.
70,000?
Yeah, I don't know. And don't fact check me.
It's huge. It's just huge. Sarah, tell us more about yourself and your story and Lattice, how it all started.
Oh, that's a long.
We don't have like a long.
Very short version. Myself, longtime career in tech, engineer by schooling, and was at long time at Salesforce for about 15 years, right before going into Lattice. So at Salesforce, I ran product, built our learning platform Trailhead, and was CMO. And coming into Lattice, it's a move from a customer space into an employee space, where you're really doing the same thing of connecting to customers, but connecting to employees and managing them and their performance.
So Sarah, if you had to pitch Lattice in 1 minute, what would the pitch be? What would you say?
In 1 minute?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. So Lattice, we help make work meaningful, and we have a full platform for everything you need to manage people and their performance, gives you ROI from your people, and truly unlocks their potential.
Oh, that was fast. That was.
Do I get 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Bonus points.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you, I know you talked about it, what's the future of work for you like? And what's the role of AI in it?
Yeah, so the future of work, I deeply believe that the future of work really is hybrid and where we are empowered to do great work and AI helps us, as I mentioned, really unlock our potential. So everything in work should be in the service of people being successful and feeling that they're doing meaningful work. And hybrid is one of those pieces which, whether you're at home, whether you're at a customer site, whether you're in the office, you should be doing great work with great people. And that should be the focus, the success of people.
Amazing, I love it. And Sarah, like for young people, our audience listening to the show, what would be your, so maybe from your experience, from your career, if you could go back or send a letter to your younger self just when starting, what would be one piece of advice that you would tell yourself?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I don't like to think of how many years experience I have. I like to think I'm much younger than I am. But if I could go back to my younger self and give myself one piece of advice, it would be to be bolder and to trust yourself more and to truly follow your passions. And not be afraid. I think anytime we make decisions that are fear-based, they're not going to be good decisions.
Okay. I love it. Sarah, how about we enter the website? We have one more location that we want to film with you.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, and check it out around.
We'll see you there.
So we just continue to walk around the venue. Sir, what was your most expensive, let's say, mistake?
Expensive mistake?
Yeah, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't make mistakes.
Right. Good. That's
You
the
really
answer.
want an answer?
Yeah, I would like the answer, but no, if you don't want to answer, we don't have to.
I have to think about that. So I would say the most expensive mistakes would be the things that I've never tried.
Okay.
And so
Nice.
when
Diplomatic
you're,
answer.
yeah, it's because when you're too afraid,
Yeah.
that's, again, don't make decisions based on fear.
Yeah.
And those are the most expensive things, are the things that you never try.
That's so true. And the biggest regrets, right?
I don't believe in regrets. I only believe in learnings.
Yeah.
So
okay.
they're the biggest missed opportunities.
I like it. Sarah, so what's next for you personally? Like, do you have any exciting initiatives or projects that you're looking forward to, either within Lattice or outside of it personally?
Yeah, I mean, within Lattice, this incredible horizon with AI, it's unlocking so much opportunity. For me personally, I deeply believe in changing the ratios in tech and leadership. And so I want to see more people, not just in tech, but also more people in leadership that represent people from all walks of life.
Okay.
And that's something which I would love to be seeing more of, and it's a personal passion of mine.
I love it. Thanks so much for taking the time and joining us on the show. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Ricardo.
Nice to meet you,
man.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thanks for having us. Let's check the wine summit.
If you like wine, Portugal is a great country because even though it's very small, we have a lot of different types of wine. We have wines from the north, Douro, then Alentejo, Lisbon, green wine, rosé.
Nice.
So
Nice.
it's really cool. So.
All right, guys, so we are back with Ricardo. And Ricardo, I got a very important question to you.
Yeah.
What is this one thing about Web Summit that brings you back every year, except of this delicious wine?
The wine, of course. I can think of 3 moments. So maybe let me preface this by saying that I'm currently head of startups and investors here.
Yes.
Meaning that I'm lucky enough to be leading the team that engages every day with startups and investors who want to come to all of our events.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think gives me energy is speaking day in, day out with people that are building stuff, like incredible stuff across the world in many different industries, and then trying to help them by connecting them with people that will help them in their journey.
Yeah.
But if I have to pinpoint a specific moment, I think one of the most powerful moments for us as a team is the staff photo that we take every year, the last day of the event.
Okay.
We go to the center stage, and then it's just like a release of energy. It's like the culmination of months and months and months of hard work.
Sounds amazing.
So that's one of the things that keep me coming up.
Amazing. Ricardo, if you create your dream lineup of speakers or maybe a dream lineup for like a panel discussion during the Web Summit, who would your be like top picks, dead or alive?
Oh wow, that is a very interesting exercise. I'm gonna pick 4 people.
Tell me.
So one, João Vasconcelos.
Yes.
Just because of the
The
pivotal
man
role.
who was the one.
The pivotal role that he had in Lisbon again, from Lisbon. Second, I would say maybe Ava Lovelace. She was the first programmer back in the 50s, 60s. Like
Amazing.
she was the trailblazer in terms of like computer science, and I think she would give a very interesting context and comparison between what the world was then in terms of technology and now. Third, a speaker that we actually have here in Lisbon this year, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, so the inventor of the World Wide Web as we know it.
Yeah.
And he's just incredible. The journey and what he created has essentially changed the world.
Yeah.
And I think fourthly, I would add Maya Angelou, just because I do think
Maya Angelou,
yes,
amazing.
just because I think it's important for us to also not lose touch with society.
That's such a great lineup, man. I didn't see Maya Angelou coming at the end of it. Like,
I know, it's just because, kind of like Web Summit, if you look at the speakers at Web Summit, we have people here that do not necessarily work in technology, but technology is everywhere.
True.
So I think it's important also to not lose touch with the impact that technology is having across the world and in society and in people that don't necessarily participate in everyday discussions within technology.
Amazing. Cheers to that, mate.
Cheers.
And yeah, let's keep going. Look at us, guys. We're here again at the Wine Summit, and now we are with the one and only Itasha Cave.
Yes.
Itasha,
So happy to be here.
awesome to have you. Tell us more about 12. What is 12 all about?
Yeah, 12 is a carbon transformation company. We take carbon dioxide and water, and in the presence of electricity and metal catalysts, we can break down the CO2 and water molecule into smaller atomic bits and reform those atomic bits into new molecules.
Yes.
We also emit oxygen as well. And this process is very similar to what trees and plants do, like right now around us. They're taking CO2 from the air and water from the ground, and they're using sunlight to make sugars and oxygen. So we're doing the same thing, but in industrial settings, so almost like industrial photosynthesis. So we're really excited about scaling that up. You know, it's a challenging technology to get CO2 to transform. CO2 is a very stubborn molecule, and nature, you know, has had billions of years to really perfect the process. And even then, you know, we're able to do it in a much more compact, much more quicker time scale than even nature. So we're excited about scaling that up and creating a world in which we can make materials and chemicals and fuels from CO2 instead of extracting it out of the ground.
Amazing. And how did it all start? Like, how did you get into it? What's your story?
My graduate work at Stanford University, and I was there with my future co-founder, Dr. Kendra Kuhl. We were working together on this technology on the basic science side. So very much like trying to understand how metal catalysts work, writing papers, doing experiments. And, you know, quite frankly, at the end of my PhD, I still was very interested in continuing the research. But my advisor was like, you can't stay here, you have to get a real job. So we started a company basically to see if we could scale it up and bring this into the real world. And we joined forces with my now third co-founder, Nicholas, who's our CEO, and he was in the business school when we were getting started almost 10 years ago now.
Amazing. So what do you want to achieve? Like, where do you see, if you were about to leave only one legacy with 12, what would it be?
Yeah, I want to, you know, be a part of this larger puzzle. Like I see a future with our, you know, grandkids where they are in a clean environment where we've, you know, solved climate change. I know it may seem really challenging and really hard, but I think we've solved planetary problems before. Like I think we can solve climate change in a timely manner. And our kids will live in that world, our grandkids will live in that world where they have flying cars, they can still fly to different countries, but they can do it in a sustainable and clean way. And I see 12 and its technology as being a part of that, of like, you know, planting the seed so that we can grow the sustainable aviation fuel, decarbonize the aviation industry, and have a cleaner future.
That's amazing. I can totally relate to that. I mean, like having a little daughter, as you know, like my goal in life is generally to kind of help entrepreneurs build a happier, better, and more sustainable future that should be actually more excited about living in. Itasha, for the young aspiring people that want to become founders and change the world or fight climate change, what would be the one piece of advice you wish you had when you were just starting out?
Yeah, I would say to hire very talented folks pretty early on and recognize that people's talents sometimes are for a season and not necessarily for the entire company. And also, if you can, it's really challenging though, but like make sure you have really great co-founders. I mean, my two co-founders have been wonderful and amazing. I mean, we've been through so much together, and like to have someone there to be there when the times are low and celebrate when the times are high. So that's been really great. So I would say getting a good co-founder, if you can find someone, it's it's like almost like getting married. Like getting married twice is like hard. And then hiring really great people.
Hiring great people is key, I agree. Itasha, thanks so much for joining us on the show. Let's keep enjoying. And let's check some more. out of the event that we're in. Hey guys, so we are here with Sage Lenier. Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sage Lenier is not from France, she's from the US, and she's as cool as it gets, and she's fighting climate change. Sage, what's your story? Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. So when I was in college, I decided to start teaching my own class because I was really disappointed in the education I was getting.
Yeah.
I felt like everyone around me was feeling worse and worse about the problem because that was what was being focused on. And so I saw that a lot of people were losing energy, losing steam, and just less motivated to accomplish, or like less motivated to go and tackle the problem. So I was like, well, we definitely need to look at this from a solutions framework. So I started writing this like original framework. It's called Solutions for a Sustainable and Just Future. And it kind of became a lot broader than that.
Yeah.
But now that program has had a couple thousand people go through it. And we are a nonprofit now. And I do a lot of work on an international scale working on climate education, policy, and also some of the real life solutions, like, you know, the financing, the tech startups, and et cetera. So I kind of have a portfolio of projects.
Amazing. Sage, why, if we're not doing anything about climate change right now, is basically like, what the fuck are we doing?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. I think we typically think of the ecological crisis as maybe like a niche thing, like, oh, the climate activists care about like the rainforest or something. And I think that's a deep sign of how badly we've gotten it wrong, because it's an existential crisis for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
And it's actually an immediate one at this point. Like, we will start to see mass disruption in our food system, and therefore most likely we will see, you know, mass malnourishment and potentially starvation within 15 years, because we have already left the boundaries of what was sustainable. We are losing seasons. And so in the next 5, 10, 15 years, we will continue to see our crop yields be more and more disrupted. So, I mean, food systems is one aspect of the ecological crisis, but like, this is here, this is now, and this is gonna disrupt every single aspect of our lives.
What can we do specifically to, like, what can people do to help change that? What should be the action?
It depends on, it's a good question, but it depends on how we're looking at this, right? You're asking about, are we thinking about what we can do as individuals? Because there's a lot.
Because we want the people to, like, as we were talking, to have some like actionable points.
Yeah.
Like, what should be done to change it? Maybe not to people, but like generally, what should be done to?
Well, it's like, you know, it's sort of, we have the type of society, the type of economy that creates ecological crises.
Yeah.
There has to be a fundamental shift in kind of the way we do everything, right? The way that we are going about running our global society is completely nonsensical, right? We have extreme wealth, and we also have half of the human population living in abject poverty. We are 1.3 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels right now. Like, it is absolute insanity. So yes, we need to make changes on the individual level. There needs to be changes from the corporate sector, from the way we regulate, you know, from a government perspective. But it kind of has to happen top down, and they all kind of have to work together, right? So I think the best example of this, or I guess the best framing of this I can give, is people are always kind of like, well, like, is it individual actions that like are going to make the difference, or like do we no, it's the corporations. Like, it's kind of a point of contention amongst people. And I don't think you can separate them out. Us in the West, we don't realize how much power we have over the global supply chain because it's invisible to us. But we just think that like there's gonna be a never-ending supply of, like, you know, new buildings being built in our neighborhoods, and more energy, and more phones, and more clothes. But all of that is, you know, if we look at where the emissions are coming from, it's embedded in the supply chain. It's in the production of a lot of these goods, and it's to feed our demands in the West. So yes, individuals have to change our consumption habits. We have to change our priorities in those ways. In many ways, we have to change our values, because having the newest, latest thing is important for us to feel good and feel cool and impress everyone else, right? But then separately, obviously, those business models are unsustainable. And then the way that we have structured our economy and our political system to incentivize those kinds of things is also a problem. So it's like, as individuals, we have to eat less meat. We have to buy way less clothes. Oh my God. We need to look at, retrofitting the buildings that we already have instead of building more buildings. But in my country, the reason we have a housing shortage is because it's all been bought up by private equity. There's actually more homes. There's like 8 empty homes in America for every homeless person. So that's a systemic issue.
Yeah. Sage, if you could, wave a magic wand and change one thing about education that would, help educate the future generation to actually make a real impact and change, what would it be?
I think we need to go back to the basics in understanding that the economy is built on the environment. There's all of this talk about the economy and how we're trying to prioritize, and climate falls by the wayside, when unemployment is high or when inflation is bad or when, housing shortages are up. I'm not saying those are important issues, but we are, because of, shareholder capitalism, we are so conditioned to look at just these 2-year, 4-year, maybe 5-6-year timeframes that, are prioritizing, everyone being, well, where am I going with this? Hang on. If we take this moment to prioritize shareholder gains, right? The stock has to keep going up. Well, then in 15 years, it won't be there. In 15 years, the company will be rendered inert because the supply chain collapsed. So we are killing ourselves. Yeah. We're killing ourselves and we're not aware of it. And it is bizarre to be at an event like this with tens of thousands of people and to be one of the only people who's hey guys, this is all antithetical to our continued existence.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's weird that the climate movement is niche. I have a lot of plans. I have plans for it to not be, right? Yeah. I'm working on a docuseries pitch right now to hopefully have this on one of the major distribution platforms and start to get people educated. But I think we need to understand that everything in the economy is built on the ecological system. You can't have a phone unless you have lithium and oil and the gold and the glass, which comes from sand, and all the the natural things that eventually turn into a phone. And so we're abusing these natural systems. We're abusing we are abusing the ecological systems that support us. We all eat 3 times a day, and we'll die without it, right? And so we are absolutely and immediately and intimately dependent on the earth, and we think we're not because food comes in the grocery store now, right? But we need to understand again that food comes from the ground. And we can't abuse, or we have gone so far into abusing the systems that enable us to eat, and we're running out of time on that.
Sage, it's been incredibly insightful and inspiring to have you on the show. What's next for you? What's one project that you're excited about or some initiative? What's next for Sage Lenier?
So we are working on the docuseries. And I really do think that this can be revolutionary. We're basically taking the curriculum I wrote at Berkeley and we're bringing it to the big screen in a new format. And it's my attempt, when I wrote that curriculum, that was my attempt at writing a vision for what a better world could look like with clear next steps as to how we could get there. And, with having the case study of having taught it as a class before is wonderful because we have all these testimonials and we have all this data and feedback. And so 2/3 of the people who went that class were not studying anything related to the environment. So we've proven that ability to reach people who are not thinking about this, don't necessarily care. Maybe they care a little bit, but they don't know the first thing. And then by the end, they're like, oh my God, I genuinely feel like I understand now what the solutions are and how to get there. So I really believe in this vision, and I've been working on it for years, and I'm excited to see it come to life and be experienced by millions of people. And then, beyond that, it just has to keep, we just have to keep with the growth there. So I'm talking to an agency about a podcast and just continuing to build out those channels to get people educated and informed and interested in the solutions rather than just aware of the problems, right?
Got it. Amazing. Thanks so much for taking the time, Sage, and sharing your inspiring insights with us. I really wish that it's going to work out, and yeah, good luck, and I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you.
Ciao. Why do you call it a river? Is it a river?
Yes, absolutely. This is the Tagus River. It goes from there, it's where it's, like that's the beginning, kind of that way, and the ocean is that way.
Okay.
But this is the estuary of the river before it reaches the ocean. That's why it looks kind of big.
It looks big.
Yes.
I was like, is this kind of a bay or like what is happening here?
Yeah, I mean, it's an estuary, so not really a bay, but yeah.
Got it. I just need to educate
this
myself
bridge
better.
was the biggest bridge in the world for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when it was built, they rushed it because there was a bridge in China that was about to be built that was bigger than this. They're like, for 2 weeks, we're gonna have the biggest bridge in the world.
Oh yeah.
That was it.
That's so funny. Okay, Vasco, let's talk about you and Unbabel. So, when you so you're working generally about to eliminate language barriers, right?
Yes.
What was like the craziest thing you when you started working on it? What was the craziest thing you think AI is gonna remove or be able to do at the beginning of it?
I mean, at the beginning of it, to be honest, I don't know if I thought AI would get nearly as crazy as it is now. We were at the time where it felt like, so this was phrase-based technology before deep learning, and we're kind of plateauing on what it could do. And I really felt like, look, before we get to anything approaching real intelligence, there's so many breakthroughs need to happen. Who knows if it's going to be 20 years, right? So our goal was look, AI is now becoming relevant to improve the efficiency of human translators, and they can help reduce the effort, so let's do that. I think since then, a lot of things have changed, right? We're now at a point where LLMs are effectively getting to a point where they will replace human translators in general.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. So this industry is both in a point where, and specifically Unbabel is at a point where we can really capture a lot of this future, and that's very exciting, but also we're going to be going through an industry that's probably going to be one of the first industries to really be transformed by AI. And I think that what's going to happen to translation is going to happen to other industries 2 or 3 years after, right? So this is a good indicator of what the future will look like.
Got it. So it's Unbabel, not Unbabel.
Unbabel, yeah. Well, it depends. There was a big debate, but Unbabel.
It's not like it's all my takeaway from what you just said, but it's Unbabel. Vasco, we talked about before we done this, we talked about Project Halo.
Yes, that's probably the craziest thing that came out of Unbabel in the last 10 years.
Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so actually that came about about 7 years ago. I had this insight of how do we use AI to augment human cognition?
Yes.
And the idea was, well, one, I wanted to do it through a non-invasive method. Not quite ready to have brain surgery. And two is more of the sense of, if you used cell phones before smartphones and you had the keyboard with 9 numbers, you realize that with 9 inputs, you could actually write pretty fast in English, right? And so what I started thinking is, well, what if you can capture biosignals directly from the brain? Not so much in terms of reading thoughts or anything like that, but in terms of creating a new channel of communication. Initially, so I feel that we're in the beginning of what's going to become eventually a third part of our brain that's going to be, outside of our brain. It's going to be hosted in servers, AI-based.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning, but in the process of starting to develop this, what we realized is we had stumbled upon something that had immediate impact and usage in patients that have locked-in syndrome, like ALS patients.
Yeah.
And so we tested it out, and it was it's pretty magical. It enables patients that aren't able to speak anymore to regain the ability to communicate with their loved ones. And it's,
this is amazing.
Yeah, it's really
insane.
cool. We demoed it at the United Nations a few months ago on the AI for Good Summit with a live patient, and it was really emotional. And so now we're in the process of spinning it off. We're actually in the active search for a CEO. We have really great candidates. I'm excited to the future of Halo, and it needs to exist in the world.
We are in Lisbon. You're local here. Can you tell me like what it's like to be an entrepreneur in Lisbon, in Portugal. How is the startup ecosystem here? How did
it change a lot
over the
in
year?
the last 10 years? When we started, there wasn't that many startups. I mean, it was the beginning of things. It was post-austerity period. I think since then, Lisbon is a very vibrant place right now.
Yeah.
Lots of new startups, people joining. Shit, I need to go.
There you go, guys.
Yeah, sorry. Lots of startups being created. Tomorrow we have the opening of the AI Innovation Hub. There's Unicorn Card Factory. There's a bunch of companies moving in.
This is awesome.
People moving. Like, there's just a really vibrant ecosystem. So it's a good time right now.
Okay, I mean, last thing. What's next for you? Do you have any exciting projects and initiatives, either within Unbabel or
we're launching our
personally?
first AI-only translation product tomorrow called Widen.ai. So
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
I love it.
Barcelona.
Guys, this is a cut for the Lisbon episode. Everyone, clap for Vasco. It's a wrap.
Thank you.
Woo!